by a long shot. Okay. All right, so, yeah, I think that'll work. In 17, now this is the same chapter we were talking about the other day where we got Dimmesdale and Hester who are together, alone, talking after how many years, y'all? 7 years. And it's interesting because Hawthorne knows human nature. He basically says that their conversation at first is kind of awkward because, you know, if you're going to talk to someone that you haven't seen in 7 years and you have like deep penetrating questions to ask, like, well, how are you? How are you really? You don't open with that, right? So they talk about just kind of like nonsense until they're comfortable enough to ask the big questions. And that's where we get where Hester drops the bomb on Dimmesdale, letting him know that Chillingworth is her husband, and he says, I can't forgive you, and she says, oh yes you will. And finally he says, okay, I forgive you, right? So at the end of the chapter, Hester has spent some time trying to convince Dimmesdale that he just needs to leave, you know? She's like, look, you could create a whole new life for yourself. Why are you tied to this village? Nothing ties you here. You feel judged. You feel like a hypocrite. Just go somewhere else, right? Start a new life. And here's what he says, okay? The paragraph that starts, oh, Hester, cried Arthur Dimmesdale. Do you guys see that? Okay, probably want to highlight this, by the way, okay? He says, oh, Hester, cried Arthur Dimmesdale, in whose eyes a fitful light kindled by her enthusiasm flashed up and died away. Thou tellest of running a race to a man whose knees are tottering beneath him. So he's, you know, able to gain a little bit of strength from just being near her, near this woman that loves him. But when she's trying to tell him you could, you know, start anew, you could just leave, create a new person, he's like, you're telling a man that he needs to run a race when his knees are just like shot. Not gonna happen. Okay? He says, I must die here. There is not the strength or courage left me to venture into the wide, strange, difficult world alone. So he says, I don't have the strength or the courage to do this by myself. Highlight this, guys. It was the last expression of despondency of a broken spirit. So he's like broken, right? Despondent. Anybody know what that word means? It's a great vocabulary word. Despondent. Any ideas?
Loss of hope.
Yes, abs. Did you just Google that? You did, didn't you? It does. It means you are without hope. So, okay, you can say, dang, I'm depressed. And you may very well be. But depressed is like here. Despondent is like way down there, right? Got no hope. So this guy is just like, you know, almost done, right? He lacked energy to grasp the better fortune that seemed within his reach. He repeated the word alone. Hester, make sure you're highlighting. Thou shalt not go alone. Then all was spoken. So, what does Hawthorne mean? Then all was spoken. She gonna go with them. Yeah, they're gonna go as a family. They make a plan. They're going to leave Boston, because what has Boston done for them lately, right? They're going to leave Boston. We're going to find out that they plan to board a ship that's going to take them to Europe, where they can start as, you know, a new family, right? Nobody knows their past. Nobody knows their history. Heck, nobody knows their name. I mean, they can start anew. Okay? They make these plans, right? So once that's decided, you get into chapter 18, which is called A Flood of Sunshine, because Hester, you know, over the 7 years, not only has she been doing just good deeds and people are now starting to forgive her, but physically, she's described as like fading. She puts her hair up in this cap, and the beautiful woman that she was just seems to have fled. I mean, she is pale and kind of plain. Physically, she's just not as pretty as she once was, right? So in chapter 18, once they've made this decision, go about 3 pages in, we're going to see a change. Look for a paragraph about 3 pages into 18 that starts, "Do I feel joy again?" Do you guys see it? So here is Dimsdale. "Do I feel joy again?" Everybody there? Yes, yes? Okay. "Methought the germ of it," I think we should bring that phrase back. Methinks. So next time, before the game tomorrow night, your friends are like, "Where should we go eat?" Methinks we should go to Whataburger. Just try it and, see how that goes over. Anyway, "Methought the germ of it was dead in me. O Hester, thou art my better angel. I seem to have flung myself sick, sin-stained, sorrow-blackened, down into these forest leaves, and to have risen up all made anew." So Dimsdale is like charged, it's like he's taking a lot of vitamin B or something, because she has given him strength and courage. They've made this decision that they're going to be together, and it's like reinvigorated him, okay? Now, the next paragraph, Hester says, "Let us not look back. The past is gone. Wherefore should we linger upon it now?" What does wherefore mean? We talked about this the other day. Yeah, why linger on the past, right? "See, with this symbol I undo it all and make it as if it had never been." Now, guys, you know good and well that you can't just kill the past, right? So she takes the letter off, throws it to the side, and she's like, "Look, it's like the past 7 years haven't even happened," which is really her kind of lying to herself, right? "So speaking, she undid the clasps, yada, yada, yada. Taking it from her bosom, threw it to a distance among the withered leaves. The mystic token alighted on the hither verge of the stream. With a hand's breadth farther flight, it would have fallen into the water and have given the little brook another woe to carry onward." Because, there's a lot that they talk about with the brook and how it sounds sad. Go to the next paragraph. Now, look at my book, guys. This thing, I got all this highlighted. So you might want to do the same. Okay? I'm not going to read all of it, but I'll start it off. "The stigma gone." Stigma is another good vocabulary word. Stigma is like a symbol of shame, right? "The stigma gone. Hester heaved a long, deep sigh in which the burden of shame and anguish departed from her spirit. Oh, exquisite relief." So she casts aside the letter, and she feels this tremendous weight lift off of her, right? She had not known the weight until she felt the freedom, and by another impulse, she took off the formal cap that confined her hair, and down it fell upon her shoulders, dark and rich, with at once a shadow and a light in its abundance, and imparting the charm of softness to her features. So, hey, guess what? She looks pretty again, right? There played around her mouth and beamed out of her eyes a radiant, tender smile that seemed gushing from the very heart of womanhood. A crimson blush glowed on her cheek that had been so long pale, and her sex, that's her womanhood, her youth, her whole richness of beauty came back from what men call the irrevocable or irrevocable past. Have you ever seen a movie where they take a girl that's supposed to be plain, and they put glasses on her and put her hair in a bun or something like that, and then, nobody realizes that she's actually really, really cute or really, really pretty, and then, she takes the glasses off, lets her hair down, and all of a sudden she's, really hot. You know what I'm talking about? Okay, it's kind of like the librarian effect. You take the librarian, take her out of the glasses and the bun, and all of a sudden you got a hot librarian. Well, this is, if you imagine this playing out on film, this is Hester, it doesn't work on me, but, throwing her cap aside, and I'm going to tell you that this long paragraph has a lot of sexual imagery. I'm not going to explain the sexual imagery, but suffice it to say that most people believe that in this moment, what Hawthorne calls the magic hour, okay, that they have some hanky-panky on the forest floor, okay? Now, I gotta tell you, I read the book many times before I even noticed anything, so I don't know for sure. I guess it's up to your imagination, but I will say that if Hawthorne were going to write a sex scene, I mean, it would read like this. It would not be explicit, okay? So, most people believe that they reverted to their old behavior. Whether they did or not, they have made the decision to be together. And y'all, for Puritans, especially, now, Hester, she didn't necessarily believe everything the Puritans believe, okay? But Dimmesdale does. Dimmesdale is a minister. Dimmesdale believes in predestination, and he has spent the last 7 years trying to make up for the mistake he made. Trying to illustrate by his actions or through his actions that he is on the path to heaven. Okay, so here he is with Hester and accepting a life with Hester, a life of joy and happiness, which also, according to the Puritan beliefs, is a life of hypocrisy and lies, takes him from that path to heaven and puts him on the path to hell. Okay, so I want y'all to read through 20 because tomorrow we're going to talk about what happens in this man's head as he is leaving the forest. These two folks and Pearl, who we hope is like way far off in the distance because her mom sent her off to play. Let's just hope she's like, 100 yards away at least, right? I mean, they're going to decide to leave. And on his way back into the village, he has these impulses to do like really naughty things, like to teach the little Puritan children bad words and to talk to the very oldest of his congregation and tell them, heaven doesn't really exist. Okay? It's like the devil's got a hold of him. So you need to read through 20 so that you understand what the heck's going on, because, I don't even understand fully what's going on, and I've read this thing a million times. So we're going to talk about what seems to have overtaken Dimmesdale, okay? Do y'all have any questions? Nothing? No? All right, we got to shift gears a little bit, okay? Let me turn this off.